All right, all right. Hey, everyone who has joined me. Tonight I am actually going to be filming from two different cameras. So I actually have Instagram live going right now as well as Facebook. So I'm so excited to be on both platforms, and I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. Oh gosh, I'm really excited about the next 4 weeks or 4 episodes that will bring us to episode 8 of Transformation at the Core, because this is where I will really get into my core methodology. And that being said, that's the methodology I use with my clients around the world. So I'm very, very excited. But first, I wanted to tell you about something super intriguing that happened to me today. And I don't know, if anybody follows me on Instagram, you'll notice that most days, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I have an abundance of inspirational quotes that go out. And today, a quote, that I saw on one of the feeds that I follow said this. If you could imagine, there was a big box that said, the things you do for others. So you fill up this big box and you put a ton of effort into the things you do for others. And then right beside this really big full box of all the things you do for others was a really, really small box. And it was labeled the things you do for yourself. For others? For yourself. And this morning I was struggling with, do I work, take my kids to school, do the mom thing, or focus a little bit on me. And I feel like, and I'm sure everyone here on the live right now might feel like you give and give and give and give to others, especially business owners and entrepreneurs. You feel like you're constantly, or business executives, you're constantly giving to your team and giving to your customers and giving to your family and probably not giving to yourself. So I posted that out there, and I actually did a survey, a little poll on, do you give to yourself, or and you have no problem doing that, or do you have a hard time doing that? And it was about 70% of people who responded said, yeah, I have a really hard time taking time for myself, which put things into perspective for me. So I actually took some time for myself, and I chose to work out over working, and I went and visited my sister today and helped her make a special soup so that my niece could have really awesome food. And what's really cool, within helping myself, I truly helped her. She was able to go to the gym and have some time for her. And any moms out there, you know how hard it is to take that time for you. And the reason why I bring this up is because the core methodology, that's what it's about. It is about who you are at the core and how solid you are at the core. And okay, let's put it this way, and I've said it a couple of times, and we'll use the gym because I'm a gym fanatic, and I believe in taking that time for yourself to be healthy, not just physically but mentally, and letting that time for yourself to release bad toxins and do the things you need to feel successful. And if you were to engage with a personal trainer, the first place that you would strengthen, or the personal trainer would urge you to strengthen, is your core. And the core of your body essentially holds up everything else. And if your core is not strong, you're going to pull a back muscle, a neck muscle, you might pull a leg muscle, and then you're never really going to see the results that you wanted. And so the core methodology is about strengthening the core of businesses. And it's about strengthening the processes, the systems, and your people that drive your processes and systems in order to bring your vision to life. Strengthening those things so that you can actually see success. And that's what the core methodology is all about, is how do we create the programs and operationalize them? How do we get the leaders on board and get your team on board and really create this cool culture of accountability? How do you then take that culture of accountability and move it over to results? And how do you measure everything? And then last but definitely not least, because we are an ever-changing species and technology is continuously and rapidly improving and changing, how do you evaluate the program you first put into place and constantly evolve it to match your customers' needs and wants, your team members' needs and wants, and the ever-changing demographic and atmosphere that technology throws your way? So that is the core. The core is about really strengthening your business, your systems, your processes, and your people. And when you do that, you've got this really cool, solid foundation to have success. So today and over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to break down my core methodology and how you can take that in hopes to be able to thrive and bring any initiative, not just the customer experience, but really any initiative to life. So if you are ready, give me some hearts and some thumbs up because we are going to get started. So first, I mentioned it's a 4-part series. So today we're going to be talking about C. And C is all about creating. And it's really about taking your initial vision and bringing it to life through the creation of programs. Sorry, I'm going to take a little sip of water. It's water. It is not wine. Anybody who knows me knows that I am actually extremely picky with my glasses. My sister just jumped on my live, hey Jessica, on Instagram, and she will attest to this. I have to have very thin rimmed glass or maybe crystal glasses. I'm weird. I know. It's a total OCD thing. Anyway, so that's why my water is in a wine glass. It's my favorite glass. I also kind of like wine. Anyway, besides the point, here we go. So it is really important that we first set the vision and we know exactly what we want to achieve. We know where we're going. We've made the decision as a team, as an executive team, as an entire team, as an organization, as an entrepreneur. So you know where you want to go. But you need to figure out how to get there. And creating the program and the systems that you need to put in place is the trigger on how you're going to actually achieve your initiative. And I have notes here on the side here. And so essentially, I want to really talk about what it means to create a program. As I mentioned, you have the vision and you know where you want to go, but creating that program is a whole other layer. It's where the rubber meets the road. So you've got your why and you know what you want to achieve, but how you achieve it is the gap between something that is a vision and realizing it to actual success. And so you have to then first make that decision. And second, whether it's yourself that creates the program and or the system for you and your team to be successful, or you bring someone in to help you do that, that is really the first step to taking your vision and making it a reality. So you've got to put your system and process in place. When it comes to the customer experience, there are a couple things you really want to put in place. And that are things like your brand promise, your foundation. So what are you going to do with every customer every time? What is your North Star? The thing that every single team member is going to try to achieve, not even try, but actually achieve with every customer every time, every team member every time. And what is going to be that guiding light? So when you come up against a roadblock, when you have a challenge, or you have a customer challenge, a team member challenge, or a customer challenge, what is going to be the thing that guides you? That's your North Star. That's your brand promise. And without that foundation, it makes everything hard, makes every decision hard, and it makes every decision actually quite blind, because you're not the entire team who's sitting in this rowboat or in a super fast Maserati. Wherever you're sitting as a team, you need to either drive full speed ahead together, or you need to row together in the same direction. Because if you decide, one of you decides to go right or go, and the other one decides to go left, you are all over the place. So you need to make sure you create some of these foundational pieces, some of these foundational systems and processes, so that your team members know exactly where they're heading. And whenever you're faced against a challenge, you can always come back to this North Star, the core of your business, the foundational process and system you've put into place to bring everybody back in line. So the brand promise is the first thing that you want to create. Secondly, you want to really make sure that you understand your customer and you understand the journey. So the second process and system you want to put in place is uncovering, number one, your consumer avatar, and number two, the journey that consumer, that customer takes when interacting with you. You want to make sure that goes, that's all mapped out and that all your touch points are in place, so then you can create your standards on what you expect to be achieved with every customer every time. Now, you all may think, whew, that's a lot. That's a lot of work to be done, just to start to take flight, just to, kind of ramp up on the runway. But that is honestly just the beginning. It is a lot of work, and it takes a ton of attention, and it really is the foundational piece. However, how you decide to train the program you create, so creating the training will set your leaders up for success in order to operationalize, which is the O, what we're going to talk about next week, but operationalize your programs, your systems, and really help encourage your people and empower your people to take flight and actually live through your vision and the system and process you have put in place. So we are going to create the program and the system. You're going to create, so the program being your brand promise, your journey mapping, your consumer avatar, and your brand standards, and the system you put into place in order for it to come to life, in order for your people to be trained. You need materials and collateral, and you need to create this awesome environment where people can ensure that they are confident to grow and to develop. And some of the things that you want to do and the systems you want to put into place are huddles, sharing of stories, newsletters, videos outlining all the awesome things people are doing that are living your brand promise, your standards through the journey the customer takes with you. So we want to create the program, brand promise, consumer avatar. We want to map out the journey the customer takes when they go through and interact with your business and do a transaction and an interaction with you. And then you want to make sure that your team is well prepared. So you want to make sure that you have huddles by design. You've pre-designed your huddles so your leaders are set up for success, and the message is clear. Have any of you played the game of telephone? I'm sure I've got some likes and some hearts coming up. The game of telephone, I mean, it's everyone, I'm sure, at some point or another has played this game where you whisper something in somebody's ear, and then along the journey, by the time it gets to the end, what you originally said is completely distorted and comes out the other end something completely different. That is what your team members do if they don't have the right systems and processes in place. It's a game of telephone because perception is reality. And if your team members are not given the proper tools and a program that is laid out and trained in a way that makes sense to your frontline and your leaders, they are, without fault, going to deliver the program the way they perceive the program. And that's something you really need. I'm going to say this again. Perception is reality. And so if you do not master that game of telephone, that communication from the executives right down to the front line, and you don't create the programs and put the systems in place for them to truly understand what they're delivering, you're going to get a different result every time. Because what they're going to do, again, no fault to their own, is that they're going to interpret the information in a way that makes sense for them. They're going to take all of the little points that you give them, the little pointers and the little tidbits and little nuggets of information, and they're going to deliver it the best way they know how. So it is so important on this stop in the journey, in the core methodology, that you get this right. You've made the decision to do something about something. So whether it is a new HR policy, or whether it is the customer experience, or whether it is a new leadership tactic or expectation, you've made a decision to do something in your business. Now that that decision has been made, in order to actually see that come to fruition the way you envision it, you need, hear me here, you need to create the program and the systems in order for your team members to actually deliver upon your expectations. You need to create the systems and the processes in order for your team members to fulfill your expectations. If you don't do this, then you can't expect them to deliver on your vision, because they're going to deliver how they perceive the information. That is why the C of the core methodology, the create, is so important. Planning is half the battle. And creating these programs are not only going to set you up for success today with the current team you have, but it is also going to set you up for success for all future team members. Because when you have a solid program and system in place, then you can bake it into your onboarding, and you can bake it into all of your training. You can bake it into your job descriptions and your hiring questionnaires and your performance appraisals. And so all of a sudden, this is the conversation that is taken from start to finish, eliminating the game of telephone. And I know all of us at one point or another has played that game, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're in business, I'm pretty sure that you know what you have once said has not always come out the other end the way it should be. Creating the system, creating the process is the first step after you've made the decision to do something different. If we take a look at, say, Ritz-Carlton or Starbucks, Amazon, any of these well-known organizations, not just for customer experience that they're all well-known for, but just really well-oiled machines. They span the globe with tens of thousands of employees. And in Starbucks' case, oh my gosh, I'm sure 100,000 plus employees. They all have these systems in place. They've all taken the time to create the proper program and the proper systems so that they could span it across multiple locations and make sure that that game of telephone doesn't happen. If anybody is a reader like I am, and you are interested in the customer experience, you should totally check out the Ritz-Carlton book. It's called Excellence Wins, and it was written by one of the co-founders of Ritz-Carlton. And in this book, it talks about all the awesome things that they do, and it actually reveals, this is really cool, it reveals all the tidbits of information on how they created the program and how Ritz-Carlton's service culture came about. And it talks about the systems they've put in place on how they can deliver consistently with every guest, every time, a 5-star experience. And you would think it's super complicated, right? It's Ritz-Carlton, and it seems so fancy, which it is. And they deliver this world-class 5-star experience. They do all of that but they have really simple systems. For example, Ritz-Carlton has 24 standards that they follow to a T. It doesn't matter what level of the organization you're in, they follow this to a T. And what they do is they review one standard every day for 30 days. That's their system. One standard every day for 30 days. And by the end of the month, they've cycled through all of their standards, and then the next month they start all over again. Simple system, but it's a system that makes you solid at the core of your business. So it doesn't matter what level of the organization you're in. It doesn't matter if you're a frontline or you're a senior executive. Everybody is talking about the same thing at the same time and is delivering a consistent experience with every customer, every guest, every patient, every time. Your system and how you create your system and the program you put into place is really half the battle. And that is why the core methodology starts right there. Because we can try to operationalize something that doesn't exist, and you're not going to get very far. You can try to measure results on something that doesn't exist, and you're not going to have much impact or much success. And then you can try to evaluate and evolve something that doesn't exist. Not going to happen. So you need to actually create it. So once you've made that decision, take the time, make it a priority, and create the program. Create the systems that your team members need to be successful so you can break the game of telephone. You know, I'm going to go back to that. What do we do for others, right? We do so much for others, and we fill up this massive box for others. Meaning your customers and your peoples, you do a lot. But when it comes to your business, how much do you give to your business? How much time and effort do you put into actually working on your business and creating those systems and processes and programs that need to be there in order to be successful? So the foundation of everything that you do comes from the creation of these programs. And if you're talking specifically from a customer experience, you all want to be rowing in the same direction. You want to figure out what your brand promise is. And you want to figure out who your customers are and what is the journey they take with you. And then from there, develop your brand standards. And once you have those key tools, those key programs and systems in place, the foundational piece of the experience you want to provide, you can start to train it and operationalize it. That is really the magic of creating your program, because you have the ability for your vision to take flight. And I think in one of my lives, not last week, but the week before, on one of my business cards, and I showed this to you all, but it says here, that not all change is magic. And it's so true, because not all change is magic. And the change happens with you. You have to make that decision to do something different and get off that hamster wheel and like completely smash the insanity wheel, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And you need to step off of that and start working on the programs that need to be put into place, because your team, and I want you to hear this, you cannot expect or be disappointed if your team members don't live up to your expectation if you do not have the right program and system in place. You're not setting the right expectations, and it's completely unfair. So take it upon yourself. Create the programs. Make sure you have the right systems in place, so then we can move on to operationalizing and sustaining these programs that you work so hard to create. So next week, I hope you find that information valuable. And as I normally ask you, and I will always ask you, I actually have a log of all of the requests for what you need and want to learn. So please drop a comment, whether you're on Facebook Live, drop a comment in here, and or on, Instagram, Facebook. Oh my gosh, I have 2 cameras going. Drop a comment no matter what social platform you're on, and let me know what you want to learn, because that will help me curate the content to come in the future weeks. But next week we are going to be talking about operationalizing. So how do you take these systems and these programs that you've created, and how do you operationalize them and train your leadership team to create followers and a culture of accountability? That is what we're talking about next week, next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But before I go, I am so excited about this. Here's yet another note, and if I could swing all my cameras around, you would totally see my show flow over here in fancy Post-it notes. But here we go, October 30th, Becky Chernick and I. So if you are in the automotive business and the industry there, show me some hearts and some likes. Becky Chernick and I are actually going to have an awesome conversation about, here we go, I'm about to be super political, the Me Too movement. We got to talking over the F&I, Women in F&I group, and we are just devastated with how far women have come, but with how many steps we've taken backwards, and how we need to create this culture where women feel comfortable pursuing a career in the automotive industry. And we're going to talk about how maybe that Me Too movement, even though it's super important, I want you to hear this, super important, because there are victims out there, and those victims deserve to be heard. But, have we taken a step backwards? Because I know, and she knows, that men are really afraid to hire us now. And so this is going to be a really deep discussion. So on October 30th at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, we are going to go live together, and we are going to talk about everything female culture in the automotive industry, and how we can go about attracting more women and creating a culture where women feel comfortable, and a little bit controversial conversation around the Me Too movement. So join us on October 30th to hear our opinions. We're going to go live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time here on Facebook. We will put a post up so you can mark it in your calendars, but I am crazy excited about sharing the floor with her because she is a rock star. Anywho, I hope you've enjoyed your time, and as I say, I will continue to say every show, thank you for your time, because your time is precious, and thank you for making it a priority to tune in with me. I try to keep it at 30 minutes, and I'm at 28 minutes, so thank you so much for your time. Once you've made the decision to do something different, whether it is a customer experience program, an HR initiative, or even personally, you want to achieve a goal for yourself. Once you've made the decision to do something different, create the system and or program, or the program and or the system that's going to work for you to be successful. Do it. Create that program, create that system. And next week, we're going to talk about how you make that come to life. No matter what size of organization you are, or if it's a solopreneur, or just for yourself. Break the game of telephone. Give your team the systems and programs they need to be successful, so at the end, you can be successful. Have an amazing night. Thank you for your time, and I will see you next week. Remember, drop a comment. What do you want to learn? I'm here for you, hoping that I can inspire positive, actionable change in your life and transform you and your business at the core.